I'm delighted to be here on Zoom with Joe Davis, who is one of the mission partners as a church St Mary's and St John's have been supporting. So Joe, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, great. So I'm Joe, as Johnny has said, who also happens to be my dad, Johnny and Kathy's daughter. I live up in Manchester in the north, far, far away. Been here for a few years now and live with my husband, Ollie. And I've been working for an organisation called Fusion for the last 5 years, since I graduated from university. So, yeah.
Thank you. And so tell us about what Fusion do and why the ministry of Fusion is so important.
Sure. So Fusion is all about students and church. So I wonder if you've been to uni before. Have you sent anyone off to uni? Maybe you've had children or grandchildren go off somewhere else to learn and study and learn to cook for themselves, and who knows what they get up to. But we train churches in those university cities to work really well with students. So we believe that every student should get the opportunity to find hope in Jesus and home in the local church. So we equip churches with tools and confidence to reach out to those students and disciple them really well. And so there's a lot of different ways that has an impact, really, in that we want to send these students off into society to make a difference. These are our future leaders, aren't they, and movers and shakers of society. It's actually 30% of today's current world leaders studied at university, came to university in the UK. So we want churches to disciple students and send them out well. But we also think there's a huge opportunity for people to accept Jesus into their lives for the first time. I wonder if you know anyone who came to faith at university. My parents did. I know people who came to faith at university. And so the trajectory that can come of that makes such a huge difference. At the moment, only 1% of students are in church. And so by training and equipping churches, we want to see that statistic shift hugely. We want to see church be a place where students can find hope in Jesus and bring their friends along to come and know him too. So yeah, that's some of the reasons why I do what I do.
Fantastic. And many in the parish will know Nicky Gumbel as well from the Alpha course. Yeah. And he came to faith at university. And he's certainly had a massive impact around the world for Jesus. And so Joe, do you want to tell us something about what you've been doing in the last year? You know, what have we as a parish been supporting?
Yeah, so it's quite difficult to sum up a year, actually. I've been thinking about this. Normal life for us looks like being on the road a lot. So I work with 2 other people who are based in Manchester. So the Fusion team is a lot bigger than that, but there's 2 other people who I work with in Manchester, and we build relationship with and support churches in university cities up and down the west of the country and in Wales. So the first 2 terms of this year before lockdown looked like lots of travel. We did 52 different trips, I think, to 32 different locations to train students to lead small groups. That's one of our big things. To equip students in mission in these local churches, and to galvanize church leaders and student workers for student mission. So there's often a citywide picture of sharing vision for student mission with church leaders as well. So yeah, that's the broad picture of this year. And I mean, there's lots of individual stories within that. There's some cities like Preston where there's been new church plants to reach students. Some people have shifted their job to become student workers to reach out to students. There's one church there that had 0 students at the beginning of the year, and they phoned us up to say, how do we reach out to students? There's a student hall opposite us, and they now have a student ministry of 20 and growing that is continuing even in lockdown. So that's just one city example, but there's amazing things happening with students and church. So, yeah,
that's fantastic. Really exciting to hear how you're training others. So it's a real multiplication and releasing ministry so that it's not limited to you, but actually to many people across these different university towns. Fantastic. You mentioned sort of before Corona, it was like this. I mean, we all know that coronavirus has had massive impact on the world and the situation. Students haven't been at university, over the last couple of months. So, how have you adapted to the lockdown and to ministry during the coronavirus time?
Yep. Yeah, it's changed a lot of things. We shifted quite quickly, really. As soon as we had to work from home, because we then couldn't travel, I had to cancel a lot of trips. But what we have been doing and has been a focus for us, as I was saying, is the training students to lead small groups that multiply. And so as soon as lockdown hit, we shifted to putting that training online, adapting it to online small groups and making it available for the whole church to try and help churches still thrive and grow in this time. And essentially we've gone with the motto that, God is still on mission among students, and the church still has a vital role to play in that. And so we still have plenty to do when we go at it from that angle. So small groups has been a big part of it, a lot of preparing 18-year-olds to go off to uni, because what a crazy time for them. Will they actually go to uni? Will they just do it online? There's a lot of unknown for them to navigate, and preparing the final year students for graduation as well. I'm doing a lot of sessions on that. And still encouraging churches to reach out, because this is a really easy time to kind of hunker down and wait for it to be over. And yet there is also so much that can be done with students. There's a church, again, this new church plant in Preston cooked pasta meals for 300 international students because they found out from the university that there was that many students stuck in halls that couldn't get home. So they're still serving the uni and showing God's love there. And lots of students are trying church for the first time online. That's why we're putting so much energy into equipping churches to do that well. There's a student in Bath called Josh who'd been inviting his very atheist friend, that was his own description, to church all year. And he'd said no every time until coronavirus hit and he started to feel anxious. And so he came to church, and that was the last service before lockdown, and he encountered God's presence in that service and then couldn't go to church anymore. So he joined a small group online, and that's an ongoing story of, he's still pursuing faith in that context, and he said that it feels like a huge burden has been lifted. So there's a lot of other students like Josh's friend who are encountering faith in this time. And we are doing all we can to help churches to have hope and to find those students, basically, that they can still, meet Jesus and keep moving forward. So, yeah.
Fantastic. That's great. So you're certainly not sitting around idly. It sounds as though you've been very busy. And I understand that this time next year, your own personal situation may look slightly different. So do you want to tell us what you expect to be doing this time next year?
Yeah, so this time next year will look very different. We don't know exactly what it will look like. I will still be working with Fusion, but not in England, not in sunny Manchester anymore, sadly. My husband and I are hoping to move to Spain as soon as we can in the autumn. And that is because some of what I've shared of the UK shows that what we know about the UK is that in every uni city there is more than one. There are multiple churches that are ready to welcome students, and where students could find home and find people like them and want to be discipled and pursue faith there. In a lot of countries in Europe, that is not the case. And the thought of students going to church is a very, very strange thought for a lot of people in Spain, for example. So Spain is one of these countries where that's the case. And it's somewhere that is particularly on Ollie and my heart. Ollie learned Spanish at university. I learned French, so I've still got a bit of way to go with my Spanish. But we we're passionate about Europe discovering seeing some of what we've seen, about students in Spain getting to meet Jesus as well and discover what Christianity is really about. So it's going to take a lot of listening, a lot of learning, a lot of relationship building for a while. That's why we don't know exactly what this time next year will look like. But it's a long-term goal to see a student mission movement through local church in Spain that'll involve getting a lot of Spanish people on board and finding which Spanish people have this same vision, basically. So that's the plan. Spain and church and students, and we'll go as soon as we can and start building relationship there. So yeah,
that's fantastic. I'd never thought about it like this before, but as you were speaking, it made me think of Paul's ministry. He didn't want to plant where there were churches. He wanted to go to places where there weren't already, and in going to Spain, you're seeking to do a similar thing in terms of you're wanting to support churches where there's no support for churches, where there are no churches reaching students, and to enable them to do that. And in that wonderful sort of multiplication ministry, and training others so that they can do it effectively in their local situation. So that's great. Thank you so much for sharing with us, Joe. It's been really helpful. Great to meet you. Great to hear what you've been up to. Great to hear of your plans. And as a church, may keep us in touch, keep us informed, let us know what you are doing. And as a church, we will try and do better at informing people in the parish so that they're more up to date with you on an ongoing basis. So thanks so much, Joe, for speaking with us.
That sounds great. Thanks for having me, guys. Great to chat with you.
Thank you.